Welcome to Dice and Mind, a podcast hosted by Brad Brown and Jason Kaufman to explore the intersection of life, games, science, music, philosophy, and creativity through interviews with leading creatives. All are welcome in this space.
I was excited to have our guest on because we're talking about something that's in effect like quite different from, and this comes up a lot with us. We always talk about things that are quite different than
No,
the
no,
norm.
but
We
this
really
is
don't have a
especially
norm,
true.
you know.
Yeah,
Sports psychology,
yeah,
and a sports and talking to a sports psychologist.
yeah.
Um, and you know, I don't know if we'll get into this in the interview, but um, our guest, I know this will come up in the interview. Our guest was part of the anthology.
Right. He was one of the he and a colleague were chapter authors together for one of the chapters of Second Star to the Right, Essays on Leadership in Star Trek.
But you made a connection with him beforehand, and I don't know
It was through the anthology.
oh,
It
was
was
it?
it, yeah, it was actually through the anthology, and I think how you just started this, Brad, is right on the mark because as I said to you before we recorded the interview with Dr. Von Stietz, the irony here is that we're about to interview a psychologist, and you're going to know way more about his work than I am. And
Yeah,
we proved that true.
yeah. I mean, yes and no. I think um, when we get into the interview, I think we'll talk, you'll hear it, and I think there's a lot of discussion in there that is beyond sports. So
Yeah, of
I would
course.
I would argue that I think it was pretty even. I don't think it ends up being um, a discussion about because you'll hear um, Jason talk about the fact that he doesn't like religiously follow like pro sports and things like
Not
that.
religiously.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Oh,
you
wait,
don't
wait.
go down
Yeah.
that path. So that
No,
saves you.
that
Uh,
that did yeah, that did help. Also, it's probably worth mentioning before we go to that chat that like you were just saying a moment ago, again, this interview, this discussion is a bit far afield for Dice and Mind, even compared to some of the interviews we've done in the
mhm.
past couple of years. And rest assured, everybody, that as you'll hear much later, like more toward the latter third of the interview, um, Jason is definitely one of us, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
I met him because the guy wanted to write a chapter about
About Star
leadership in
Trek.
Star Trek, right? So he and as you'll hear, and we'll have all the links in the show notes, but as you'll hear, he's deeply immersed in pop culture, in film, in sci-fi, in fantasy, a little bit in RPG. So yes, we know that this topic is a little out there, as it were, for us, but we still think it fits really well. And again, we here in the Northern Hemisphere, as we're approaching the winter months, unless you're in Arizona, as my friend Andy is, the door just recently slammed shut on daylight savings time, which
Oh
I always
yeah.
think is a bad idea. But then the first day after, and my wife and I, we were down, as you know, we were down south for an extended weekend, so we got there Saturday, and then our phones set back automatically. So Sunday morning we woke up like, oh, no big deal. But being a few hundred miles south, that
Made
seriously
a big
minimized,
difference.
seriously minimized, right? So like we were still like the sun wasn't actually down until about 6 and it was warmer. And then you get here and like we get back a few days later and sunset 4:59. It's like what just happened?
I was going to say, if you, and for those that are listening, if you think it's just going to be a discussion about pro sports and everything like that, then
It's not.
that's
In
not,
fact,
it's
there's really
not
like
that at
no
all.
no sports at all.
No,
Yeah.
what it's going to be interesting is you're going to hear talk about the well, I won't give it away. It's
Yeah,
just not gonna,
we'll
it's not
just
about that. I found it very interesting as a non-clinician,
yeah,
um, hearing the discussion, and as we get more into it, you will, to your point exactly, find out why um, Dr. Von Stietz is definitely one of us, one
yeah.
of
But
us.
also clearly a masterful clinician. Like I know you'll hear me say this in the interview, but his chapter is like this brief master class on cognitive behavioral therapy. Like he's
Hmm.
so steeped in it. But that said, we're gonna click over to the interview. Brad and I will go get in our jammies and our get our pumpkin spice, and we'll see you on the other side.
Oh.
Dr. Jason von Stietz is a licensed psychologist and cognitive behavior therapist who specializes in the treatment of people with OCD, panic, insomnia, and sport performance related issues. Dr. Jason von Stietz, thank you so much for being here. Um, this is exciting and funny because there's a great irony that Brad and I were talking about. I think maybe this morning, actually. You know where I'm going with this. So. So I get to talk with a fellow psychologist
Ooh.
on the podcast, you,
Yeah.
but you specialize in an area that
Yeah.
I know literally nothing about. And I don't mean
Yeah.
cognitive behavioral therapy.
Right.
I mean this thing called sports. Now, I
Yeah.
know that sometimes you got to take the puck and run with it, but that is literally the extent of it. So I'm going to
Sure.
kick it over to Brad, but it is
Okay.
really lovely to finally have you on the show.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. And yeah, I should also tell you, I'm in this weird category where much of my life has been dedicated to sport and performance.
Mhm.
I've trained a lot, I've competed a lot, but I don't actually watch
Oh,
at all,
interesting.
really. So
Yeah,
that's always really tricky for people because yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to talk about it. I'm happy to
yeah.
give insight about the psychology aspect, but as far as like being a fan or all that aware of what goes on in professional sports, yeah, I don't really know. So sorry, Brad, if you really wanted to talk about the
No,
Dodgers
that's
or
but
whatever.
that's fascinating because I think there's an aspect, and I think it's becoming and you know we could go down a rabbit hole here. I think you'll I
Brad's trying
as
to
a
figure out how to do this and
as
keep
a
me in the
Yeah.
discussion.
yeah as a fan of sports, I'm seeing more and more athletes becoming more attuned to their own mental health
Right.
and being more than willing to um, you know, talk about it publicly.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and
Definitely.
and it's not a taboo subject anymore. You'll see athletes that will step away from their prospective professions and say that I need a break or that
Right.
I'm struggling right now or I need time away. You see it in the NFL, you've seen it in the NBA, you've seen it in Major League Baseball. I've seen it in all in the three major air quote major US sports.
Right.
I saw it even in the NHL too. And so I think it's great to see that because I think, obviously both of you as psychologists know that you know, and Jason, we've talked about this, mental health, always has been somewhat people who have struggled with mental health, it's been a taboo subject. And the fact that when you have public personalities and all that,
It's a big
um,
deal.
struggle and talk about that, it makes it less so.
Well, to that point, Jason, you host two podcasts now. I
Yeah.
didn't know about the second one. So
Yeah.
you've been hosting Movie House Sports Psychology for
Mhm.
quite some time, right?
Yeah, about 3 years now. Yeah.
Okay, lots
What
of
is that? What is
episodes,
that
I think,
about?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's about talking about movies and TV shows through the lens of mental health and sports psychology. So I'll bring on guests. They usually talk about either their favorite movie or their favorite show,
and then we kind of geek out about it and tie in any kind of
Nice.
mental health or performance aspect to it. And it doesn't have to be just like a serious sports movie. I have
Hmm.
talked about Hoosiers and other
Hmm.
sports movies, but I've also talked about Waterboy, and I've talked about I've
The
talked about
foosball.
yeah, talked about horror movies and rom-coms, and so yeah, whatever. When we can still find a way to tie in mental health and sports psych.
Um, I just my daughters love. Is it How to Lose a Man in 10 Days? Is that the name?
That sounds
Right.
familiar.
It's the I can't think of her name. It's the Matthew McConaughey.
Is it
Uh
Sandra Bullock?
no, but that would have been a
Drew
good
Barrymore?
guess. No, that's our age. No, this is
Okay.
no,
Kate
it's
Hudson?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey. And I have seen that movie way too many times. But yes, rom so but okay, so you also though, and I didn't know this, you said you just started the Mentally Fit Athlete?
Yes, yes. A little while, a few months ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a co-host, Lydia Garcia. She's a social worker who also works with athletes. And
cool.
then it's a shorter podcast,
Hmm.
about 20 to 30 minutes each
Yeah,
episode. And we'll just talk about some some quick tips about sport and performance, whether it's running a marathon or when we started it, the California wildfires were going on. So we
yeah,
talked about how that was affecting athletes
yeah.
and just resources and what athletes could do to cope with trauma and things like that. And yeah, we just try to make it like really short and concrete whenever we do that episode that podcast.
This
Really
is
cool.
maybe way too broad of a question, but when it comes to sports psychology,
Mhm.
um, how, the focus for that, you know, okay, maybe kind of a two-part question. How did you kind of end up going down that path?
Sure, sure.
And then, um, you know, what kind of differentiates that self maybe from like a general psychology? And maybe I'm not a psychologist, so I
So more of like
apologize,
a
but
clinical or counseling perspective.
yeah,
How did you get
thank
into
you.
sports
Yeah,
psychology and what makes it sports psychology,
thank you.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as how I got into it, like a lot of people in the field, I was an athlete and I didn't do as well as I wanted to, and probably as well as I could have. I have a lot of athletes in my family. My great grandpa was a weightlifter, and I've seen pictures of him with the old-timey
Mm.
barbells with like spheres at the end.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And then my grandpa he didn't he World War II started when
Yeah.
he was young, so he fought in the war. Didn't get to he was like 16 or something in the war because we were from the Dutch East Indies at that time,
Oh wow.
present day Indonesia. On my
Yeah.
dad's side, on my mom's side, California, we're
Yeah.
Chicano. Um, but I have this history of athletes in my family, and I loved competing, and but I also would just kind of struggle with performance anxiety. Um, and then after college, I ran track for a year in college. Um, again, looking back, I think I did just fine, but at the time it was a real struggle because I
Mhm.
wasn't performing the way I wanted to. But after the college, I started competing in weightlifting, and so snatch and clean and jerk, the
Oh
two
man.
lifts, and I had a really good coach. He coached athletes at the Olympic training centers. I was not
Oh
at that level, but he
yeah.
he used to coach at those training centers and made his own gym. And his coach was Tommy Kono, who's known as the greatest U.S. weightlifter of all time.
Jeez.
Wow.
And he was really strong mentally. He was a Japanese American who was put in the camps,
Mm.
um, and then he started lifting weights like in the basement and when he was in
Yeah.
one of those camps. And then he enlisted, and I can't remember if it was during the war or after the war, but yeah, he was just really strong mentally, and then he went on to coach different Olympic teams, U.S., Mexico, Germany, different teams, and he would pass down that kind of like mental or just like nice lessons. He wasn't like trained in sports psychology or anything, but he would just coach the mental side when he was coaching his athletes. So then my coach did that for me. And then when I went to grad school, I just really tried to um, find a way to tie in sports psychology
Yeah,
to
yeah,
any project I was doing because my degree is in clinical psychology, not sports
yeah.
psychology. Um, yeah, and then as far as like sports psychology, um, sports psychology is when you're helping athlete or applied sports psychology. Applied sports psychology is when you're helping athletes to perform to the best of their abilities or in the upper ranges of their abilities more consistently and help them to enjoy their sport more.
Hmm.
Um, versus mainly just focusing on the mental health part, but also
Yeah.
helping them with performance under pressure and just enjoyment. But it's fun. Definitely a passion of mine.
I mean, it's got to be quite the specialty, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's gaining more popularity and becoming more
Yeah,
mainstream. Like Brad was pointing out, a lot of athletes, a lot of professional athletes, Olympic athletes, are talking about their mental health more.
yeah,
Michael Phelps is a great
yeah.
example. Um, yeah, so it's definitely gaining in popularity, but it's still kind of um,
Right.
it's the least of the priorities. So if a team has the resources,
Fair.
if they've got everything else lined
Yeah.
up, then they'll bring in sports psychology. But
Mhm.
it's definitely like the one of the last things that they'll actually incorporate.
Yeah, that's fair. Unfortunate, but fair.
Yeah.
Huh? Go ahead, Brett.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna pivot us a little bit. So well, not getting away from the psych, but pivoting from the psych for a moment and getting into the geekery.
Sure. Yeah. Let's
You
do
know, because
it.
you know what this podcast is about in terms of RPGs and IPs and all this stuff. And like right before we clicked record, we were talking about how sometimes you just have to take a step out of like something like Star Trek and get into Lord of the Rings or
Yeah.
fantasy or whatever.
Yeah.
Like what in those arenas has driven you? Like where do you find yourself thinking, reading, playing, whatever?
You mean like lately or
Whatever.
sure.
Just yeah,
Okay.
lifelong late. I mean, if you
Sure.
ask us lately, like I mean, if
Yeah.
you're including the past few years, we can scratch something up, but otherwise not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I definitely started with Star Trek and Star Wars,
Yeah.
like as a little kid. It's so funny to look back because I was a little kid in the 80s, and at that time, Star Wars seemed so old to me already. When I was like a 5-year-old in like around like 89, it
Yeah.
was like it seemed like this really old thing. And like
Sorry, no one can see Brad putting his head in his hands.
I'm old.
Yeah. What's a decade among friends? Keep
Yeah,
going.
I'm old.
Yeah. But now looking back, like something can be 20 years old, and to me it just happened. But
Hmm.
but at that time, as a 5-year-old,
Right.
it's like, whoa, Star Wars, it's this really old thing. It's so great. Star Trek, I love it. So I definitely started with those things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, then Aliens and Terminator and
Oh yeah.
things, Predator, things like that.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and I just at the time, I just thought it was really cool, really fun. I mean, Luke Skywalker had a laser sword, and his dad was like evil knight guy or
Right.
samurai
Right.
with magic powers. And Star Trek, I mean, Jordy was nice and cool, and he had
Mm.
like a cool visor, and he read to kids, and it was just awesome. Riker, I don't know, he was cool. He was tall and had a beard. That was awesome. So I just yeah, I just liked it. But now looking back, yeah, there were great role models where um, they would teach you these aspirational values.
Yeah.
And Luke Skywalker, he was trying to help his friends. He was
Mhm.
trying to overcome evil and set the galaxy free. And then, yeah, he failed at several different points, but yeah, he was trying. He was doing his best. He was learning.
Yeah.
And in Star Trek, there was always like
Yeah.
this moral problem, and they needed to figure it out. And Picard was always just smart enough and wise enough, and he could give an awesome speech that would just get everybody rallied behind
Yeah.
the right cause. Um, yeah, so it was just like this great uh way to like learn these lessons and have fun. And I
Yeah.
wasn't even thinking like, oh, I wanna learn ethics or these valuable lessons or learn values. It was just about having fun at that time.
Do sci-fi, fantasy, whatnot, do any of these, because you do a lot of psychotherapy and
Mhm.
other work,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And does this ever inform or make its way into sessions?
Yeah, yeah. I don't usually
Yeah.
um uh just kind of bring something up. I won't usually just talk about Star Trek, but I'll ask them, and especially at the first session or early on, that's a great way to build rapport.
Yeah.
After we talk about the more important stuff like the presenting problems, like anxiety, depression, or whatever it might be, then I'll ask them about their hobbies and what their favorite movie is or what shows they like. And if nothing else, it's great for building rapport. But then also, if they have a hero, Jon Snow or Rocky Balboa, or even video games, if they have some favorite game, then we can use that as a metaphor, and I can ask like, whoa, what do you admire about Jon Snow, and
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what lessons can you learn, and what problems did he solve that you thought was really fun, and how can you do some of that with this problem that we're dealing with?
Nice.
The like almost like a hero's journey type of
Hmm.
thing in a way.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's like it's kind of a reoccurring theme. And I know as someone, I mean, I think anyone can benefit by going through therapy. I've gone through therapy, and I know using that has, talking about the hero's journey, especially after talking about it through the podcast, utilizing
Yeah.
that, just talking with my therapist. It's been you know,
Beneficial, right?
but yeah, it's been very, very beneficial. Um, just from your perspective, I just from a sports psychologist perspective, just curiosity, just to bend back, just because I was curious,
Sure.
what kind of athletes do you see more often these days in terms of
Yeah.
like from
It's a
the
good
different
question.
sports?
Hmm.
And do you see any trends these days, or have
Yeah.
you seen changes over the
At,
years?
what type of athlete I would add, if you don't mind, type of
Sure.
athlete and or presenting issue. Like
Sure.
who are they and what are they actually looking for?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I tend to see a lot of baseball players. And then of course I didn't play baseball. When I did play baseball in PE or whatever, it was my worst sport.
Right.
But baseball it's a very mental sport. And then you don't even need to know anything about baseball or to ever really play to know that you fail more times than you succeed in baseball.
Right. Right.
Um, if you get on
Hmm.
base 30% of the time, you're doing pretty well. You're doing just fine. So baseball is very, very mental. You need a lot of focus. You need a lot of distress tolerance.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I will see a lot of baseball players. Um, but then also I tend to just see athletes of all kinds, basketball players, um, it's lacrosse, just
Hmm.
you name it.
Lacrosse.
Dancers.
Oh,
I've worked
sure.
with a lot of dancers, or
Yep.
I've worked with some actors. Um, And then I'll also work with teams. I haven't worked with teams in a while. I've been more focusing on individuals, but I've worked with all kinds of teams, golf teams, baseball, mainly baseball teams, softball teams, track and field,
Mhm.
all of these teams. Sumo wrestling. I've worked with sumo wrestlers. So that was a
We
lot of fun.
we should probably preface that you're in
Yeah.
LA.
I'm in LA. Yeah.
And that does
Yeah.
help to explain at least a little bit of this.
Sure. Yeah, I'm in Southern California.
Yeah.
So LA basically has everything. You're 40
Right.
minutes away from everything.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. And then as far as the presenting issues, I've done a lot of work with athletes with OCD.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. Division One there's not a ton of research out there, but Division One athletes do have higher rates of OCD traits and higher rates of OCD, which just would make sense.
Yeah.
And so I've worked with a lot of athletes with OCD and panic attacks and
Yeah.
performance
Oh,
anxiety.
jeez.
Um, yeah, but I've probably worked with a little bit of everything.
Mhm.
Once or twice. I'm not even a couples therapist, but when I was at a college counseling center, I
Hmm.
worked with one or two couples that were athletes on campus. They were both athletes. Um, so yeah, I've had a wide variety of experiences.
You see, that's really interesting. There was a time when I thought maybe I would end up going the route of campus counseling center. So I should preface as
Oh,
a
I was gonna. I
therapist,
thought you
not as a
were.
student. Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
when you. I was waiting for you to answer that because I was like, if you were
No,
gonna
no.
say sports psychologist, I was gonna laugh you off the podcast. But,
Oh,
um,
no,
you know,
no, no.
but I knew you weren't gonna say that, but I was
Yeah.
gonna laugh anyway.
Questionably competent psychologist and incompetent sportser, or whatever we call them.
You know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, you had mentioned though that, and not to put you on the spot is that, um, you know, I think it's interesting that, um, you know, and correct me here because again, not trained clinician, no experience in it. Didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so nothing. Um, you don't necessarily have to um, be like a heavy follower of sports to be a clinician and really kind of understand what could potentially be going on with an athlete who might be struggling in some form or another with something, whether it's OCD, like you
Yeah.
said, or performance anxiety, or just anxiety or general anxiety disorder of some sort.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't have to uh, be follow on TV or be too much in the weeds of what goes on with pro or Olympic athletes. It helps. And I do have a background in competing and in training,
Mhm.
uh, so that does inform a lot of.
Mhm.
Just my awareness of what it's like. That being said, I don't have the awareness of a pro athlete or anything like that. But it does help. But then also I have talked to a few people who have just kind of fallen into sports psychology. I forget his name, but there was a psychologist who worked with, I believe, the Chargers. I, yeah, I forget his name, but this was a while ago.
Yeah.
But he never played sports, didn't know anything about sports. They just needed a psychologist, and he was an expert in addiction, and I believe they're having issues with addiction. So then he
Okay.
became their psychologist, and he was really embedded in the team and would sometimes be on the bus with them. And I think there was an embarrassing moment where somebody threw him the football, and
Oh
he's
no.
oh, like it was just really awkward to yeah. But yeah, the team loved him and he did great work with them. So you don't necessarily need to have that background.
No, but you having competed, you said
Yeah.
like track and everything like
Yeah.
that. You've competed before, so
Mhm.
you've experienced what competition is like. You've
Yeah.
experienced the preparation, the mental and physical
Hmm.
preparation for sports competition. So obviously
Hmm.
that helps. Obviously, you've been trained as a clinician,
Yeah.
so you have a lot of background. It's just funny because I think sometimes probably people would assume, oh, sports psychologist, that means you have to keep up with,
Mm.
you know, what's in the
Yeah.
newspapers, and that's not necessarily the case. You don't
Right.
have to do that,
Right.
and that sounds so simplistic.
Yeah.
That sounds almost like anal in a way, but I think
Sure.
that's probably it's kind of like a basic thing for folks to understand
Yeah.
is there's more to it. And like you said, like for baseball, for example, people in the Baseball Hall of Fame, um, traditionally you're successful at the plate 30% of the time
Right.
is the line that's drawn. If you're
Hmm.
30%, if you do that, then you have a pretty good chance of getting into the Hall of Fame. That's Bo
Yeah.
Jackson, for example.
Yeah. Jeez.
You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah. And I think on average, people in the field of sports psychology are big sports fans that watch all
mhm.
the time, or at the very least, they have their one sport that they keep up with.
Right.
For me, maybe you could say that's comedy. I do improv comedy.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Let's
I will
talk more about that.
Yes.
sure, sure, yeah, and I will incorporate that into my work with athletes, uh,
Interesting.
where I teach them how to do improv, especially if I'm working with a team. There are
Uh-huh.
still exercises I can do in a one-on-one setting, but if I'm working with a team, improv exercises are great for team building, for communication, and all that stuff. And we'll work in like mental skills training. But yeah, I do improv, and I'm a big comedy fan. So maybe that's like my way of keeping up with like sports, sort of.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and there are therapists or psychologists who work with a lot of comedians. Somehow I'm not one of them,
Interesting.
at least not yet, but
Yeah.
maybe that'll happen someday. But yeah, it's
Well,
I
you're in
love.
ground zero. You're at ground zero.
I'm
So
I'm
Yeah,
I'm just I can't so I can see the cover of your first book
yeah.
saying yes and to anxiety, right? Like you could
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
whole series. Oh my God.
yeah.
how
So
did you end up getting into improv?
Well, I've always been aware of it because I grew up watching Whose Line? Whose Line Is It
I was
Anyway?
just watching
Oh,
Yeah,
clips of that this
love
evening.
yeah,
this. Yes.
Oh
yeah.
man, so clever.
Yeah. So I've always been aware of it. Never thought I would do it because I mean those guys are so amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't even think you could just do it at like a basic, just fun level where you're not amazing like that. It's just a game. These are games that anybody could play.
yeah,
Um, so and then when I was in grad school, I went to one free introductory workshop. It was great, but I didn't have time to continue.
yeah.
And then I was at a sports psychology conference, and then somebody gave a presentation on how they use improv comedy with athletes. And I was, wow,
Wow.
that's the missing piece for me. And
Yeah.
then I just took off with it and just started using it all the time. And then didn't even take a real improv class yet. I was just reading about improv and kind of cheating by preparing ahead of time for the workshops I would do. And then just like 2 years ago, I finally started taking classes, and it's just been really fun. And uh, yeah, yeah, I don't know how far I'm gonna go with this, but yeah, I just keep taking classes and just keep having fun with it.
So you're
You
not.
were at a you were oh I was just gonna say
Yeah.
you were at a conference, a sports
Hmm.
psychology conference where they had a presentation on it. That's fast. I
Hmm.
find that
I
fascinating
mean,
that
it
it's
Yeah.
certainly goes to like, I mean, improv is definitely gaining big time in
Hmm.
popularity. Like, you never
Yeah.
heard about it, other than like, whose line is it anyways? But now you hear about people in various walks of life, like taking classes and even
Right.
doing it. So,
Right.
so do you ever perform, or is this something that really is more like in your day job in terms of therapy and other things?
I've kind of performed. I've taken online classes,
Yeah.
and then we had online like class performances that are posted on YouTube. And then and lately I've started taking in-person classes,
Wow.
and I've gone to something called student jams,
Yeah.
where you if you show up early enough, you can put your name in a bowl. and then they'll pull your name and you get to go up and play improv games with, a bunch of people watching. And then recently I have joined a student team and we haven't performed yet,
Yeah.
but we're going to start having our practices and then we're going to perform in January. So I haven't done like a paid show or anything like that, but
Yeah.
yeah, more or less, I've more or less performed in front of people.
Oh, that is impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, especially
It's
being
awesome.
improv, like it's not scripted.
Yeah.
Like the whole
Yeah.
point is you don't know what you're going to do going in.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. In a way, it's I've never done stand up, but it's I imagine it's much easier than stand up because in stand up it's kind of adversarial
Yeah.
where it's kind of a lot of stand ups will think of it as a competition or
Hmm.
they're trying to beat the crowd or the crowds might heckle them. They think of it more as like a battle. And with improv, it's a lot more collaborative. The audience is part of the show. They're giving suggestions, and they feel like they're more part of it, and everybody's rooting for you. Whereas
Yeah.
at stand
That's
up, they
neat.
they they might heckle you.
Okay. That's interesting. I never thought about
Mm,
that.
yeah.
Just to switch gears a little bit for a moment, Jason. So since we have you here,
Yeah.
and like I'm familiar obviously with your writing, like right, like the chapter the chapter
Well,
you guys
we
have.
should note because we should note that he's part of
Yeah, in Second Star to the
Second
Right,
Start of the Right.
essays
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
Second Star to the Right, essays on leadership and Star Trek,
Hmm.
and you guys wrote this beautifully detailed chapter,
Wow.
like
Yeah.
long and detailed. I mean, it was really impressive
Yeah.
on cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
And so we don't need to go down like we don't want to put everyone to sleep and it'll just be the
Sure.
two of us talking. Like I can do that at
Mhm.
home for free,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
But but like so when this drops, it'll be mid-November.
Okay.
And here in the northern hemisphere, and LA still counts. So in the northern hemisphere, days are getting shorter,
Sure.
nights are getting longer.
A
Um,
song.
Not yet.
Oh.
The hills, however, were alive yesterday when the sun came out.
Um,
But like Brad and I talk about this typically every December, but here in the Northern Hemisphere, as fall really is well underway, and as especially in these northern climes like in the upper Midwest and the Midwest, where you really are seeing changes in terms of daylight and things are
Mhm.
chilly and people are tired, and there's probably a lot of like kind of subsyndromal seasonal affective disorder, right?
Sure.
Probably going on all over.
Yeah.
But especially then in the States where like Thanksgiving is coming up and then you've got the holidays for a lot of
Yeah.
religions. Like the coming months, like November, especially December, January, can be very dark
Sure.
emotionally,
Sure.
psychologically for a lot of people. And typically toward the end of the year, Brad and I will talk about this, like
Mm.
kind of in one of the closest episodes, just to encourage people to like
Sure.
realize, they're kindred spirits with a lot of people who are struggling and get help,
Right.
etc. But as so just if to put you on the spot if you don't mind
Sure.
because I know the depth of what you do because I've seen it.
Hmm.
So, what if you knew of someone as a licensed psychologist, if you
Sure.
knew of someone who like this time of the year was struggling or
Hmm.
just, down or was thinking of getting help, like because you can do this way better than Brad and I can. What would be your 2-minute elevator pitch if you were,
Sure.
for like the potential benefits of seeing a
Yeah.
therapist?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
well, that
yeah,
isn't
there's
putting the poor guy on the spot.
well, there's so many benefits. Yeah, and the holidays can definitely be a time when people start to feel more sad, and then thankfully, there is a growing awareness of that, and
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
there's a lot more outreach. So then I'm not fully up to date on statistics, but there's actually there isn't a big surge in suicides or harm during the holidays because there's all of this outreach and all this awareness, and people know that that someone could get into a slump and feel down and lonely during the holidays. But then after the holidays, when there's no longer that awareness and no longer people checking in,
Right.
that's when it becomes more troubling for people.
Sure.
So that could be good to be aware of.
Hmm.
And actually, good, tying it back to comedy just a little bit,
Yeah.
there's a comedian. Oh man, I'm forgetting her name right now, but she hosts the show After Midnight. Um,
I'm looking
yeah,
it up right now because I have no
okay,
idea.
okay.
Okay.
But she has a stand-up special. I think it's on Netflix, where she spends a lot of time talking about her mental health and how
Oh, Taylor Tomlinson.
there you go.
I've
Yeah,
I've 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 seen her on. Yeah, I've
yeah.
heard her before. She's funny.
Yeah, yeah, she has a stand-up special where she spends a lot of time talking about her mental health and her finding out that she has bipolar disorder and
Oh
getting
wow.
treatment. And she said, well, I can't remember how the way she set up her joke, but the gist of it, without trying to redo the joke, the gist of it is people think that um, when you go to therapy, you're your therapist is gonna say that you suck, and then but that's not what therapy is. When you go to therapy, you say I suck, and then your therapist talks you through um, you know just works through it with you and isn't judging you and just helps you to gain a
It's a
lot
really
of
good way to put it.
insight and all that.
Yeah.
So maybe just showing a clip of Taylor Tomlinson might be the best way to go about that.
That's great.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
yeah, that's funny. I've never experienced a therapist like like reinforce the fact that,
That you
you
suck.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
That's why you
mean,
have me. Yeah.
yeah, that's
Right.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, no, you've never been my
I don't even
therapist,
get paid
but
for this crap.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean that's interesting way of the way you put it is that
Yeah, that is really that's good.
they're there to help guide you and to help you build yourself up.
Hmm.
You know, don't let any I always some mine always said that if I'm here to build you up, then when I'm not around, you'll just crumble again. I'm here to
Mm,
help you build yourself up so that
right,
you won't need others to
right.
build you up for you, so you can stand on your own. Um,
Yeah.
people need to realize that if you're struggling that way, therapists can teach you how to build yourself up, even
Mm,
if you think that's absolutely impossible. Trust me, it's not.
right, exactly. Yeah, and therapy um well, sometimes it can be hard for people to get started. It can take them a long time. They don't feel comfortable opening up yet. But then once they do, uh, it feels good to unburden yourself. It feels good to be able to talk about all of that stuff that has been running through your mind that you haven't felt safe enough to say to other people. So it's not it's your therapist is a professional and they've heard it all. They've heard worse than than anything you could say, or
Right.
they've heard they've seen all the case studies, so you're not going to be judged, and yeah, it just feels good to get it off your chest.
Hmm.
I do want to come back to one thing though, because
Sure.
this it's something you said that it really intrigues me, and I'm having a really hard time imagining this. Just improv
Hmm.
while working with teams.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I will say, just for our listeners, all three of them,
I
that
can
like
imagine this with a baseball team, though.
oh,
I
okay,
don't know
so
why
this
with a
is what I want
baseball
to hear
team.
about because like
Yeah.
sure,
I can see how like improv working with teams like that has game mastering
sure,
at a tabletop like all over it, and I
Oh,
can
that
see
I didn't
that
think
super.
of.
I mean, that's what GMing is, unless if even
yeah,
when you're trying to railroad them. But I'm curious, what does that look like, Jason? Doing
sure,
like using improv therapeutically to work with a team.
sure,
How
sure.
like what's the improv piece?
Sure, sure. Yeah. So when you're doing improv, You don't know what anybody's going to do or say ahead of time.
Right.
You're creating it in the moment, and you need to collaborate with somebody else, or else it's just not going to work.
Yep.
And you need to be in the moment. A lot of people, most people know have heard yes and.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you accept whatever somebody else is saying, whatever the reality is that they're creating, and you contribute more to it. And before you can even do yes and, you have to listen. So you have to be in the moment.
Okay.
You have
Yeah.
to be paying attention. Um, and then if we look at athletes perform their best when they're focused on the task at hand. And
Right.
if they can relax, that's great, but you're not always going to be able to relax. If we're
Right.
talking about a really important big competition that only comes around every once in a while,
Right.
you might not sleep the night before.
Yeah.
You, yeah, you can do deep breathing, and that's great, but you might have a lot of anxiety and a lot of adrenaline anyway. So if you can feel all of that emotion and focus on the task at hand, that's going to give you the best chance of getting the outcome you want. And improv can recreate at least a portion of that in a safe way
Yeah.
where you're embarrassed, you feel silly, you feel
Mm-hmm.
goofy,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you have performance anxiety, and you need to do this fun task where you're in the moment and you're communicating, you're working together, solving problems in a way. Um, yeah, and then there's just so many improv games that you could do that recreate that. We could just think of whose line is it anyway, and maybe they need to sing a song in the moment together, or maybe they need to, maybe they're doing a press conference, and the person doing the press conference doesn't know that they're the Queen of England, and they need to be in the
Green
moment.
screen. I was thinking of green screen with Colin Mockery, right? When you were
Yeah,
talking about that.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and they just need to do their best. Just be in the moment, listening, going along with what other people are saying, and trying to solve the problem. And if they don't get it, they're doing their best. And it's just about the fun of it and the effort, and then that translates into to better focus and teamwork and communication and all
That's
that
really interesting.
in their sport.
That's really cool. And it's unpredictable and it's unscripted and that's life.
Hmm.
So presumably there's some horizontal application if the team can really do this together.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if nothing else, it's a great team building exercise
Right.
where they start to like each other,
Right.
if they don't already, and they're having fun. It boosts morale, and at the end of near the end of a long season when people are getting injured or
Yeah.
have aches and pains and they're tired, it's just a great way to just get some more energy that can help them.
Before we let you go, because we want to
Yeah.
be cognizant of your time,
Sure.
obviously improv, that we hadn't talked about beforehand. So
Yeah.
I love these organic conversations because that
Yeah.
was something that came up in as we've talked here. So it was that's awesome. Do you have, between work and obviously your podcasts,
Yeah.
and we know that you write,
Mhm.
um, you know,
You might even have a life in addition to all of those. Some
I'm
people
just wondering,
do.
what do you
I
have?
mean, we've heard.
What do
Yeah.
you, because
Sure.
obviously, you have to be cognizant of your own mental
Sure.
health
Sure.
and all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
What do you do for like yourself for activities and things
Sure.
like that to keep
Sure.
yourself
Yeah,
uplifted?
yeah, great question. Well, improv, there is a lot of research showing that improv is really good for your mental health. It's
Interesting.
it's good at reducing anxiety. It's good at increasing cognitive flexibility. Um, yeah, it's good for a variety of reasons, and it's just fun. So
Mhm.
when I do improv, it's kind of puts me in this community. I get to meet all these fun people. I do things that I never would have expected I would do. I never planned, but then all of a sudden I'm doing this and it's really fun. For example, not that long ago, I took a class that was on puppets and improv. So like puppets like Sesame Street. Like
Yeah.
so we were doing improv
Oh my God.
through puppets and everybody else there had this long history of loving puppets. And I was like, oh man, I watched Sesame Street when I was a kid, but
Exactly.
so I was just kind of like in it. But yeah, it was, I never expected to do that, but it was really fun. Um, and then I also do Filipino martial arts.
Of course you
So,
do.
yeah. So that's fun. I kind of get to pretend I'm sword fighting and hit people with sticks sometimes. And
That's
that's
awesome.
that's a lot of fun. And then I go to therapy too. I'm a therapist, but I also go to
Nice.
therapy.
Yeah.
And that's, it's like you said, it's good for anybody for the most part. I mean, if you have resources, if you can access it,
Right.
it's good to do. And yeah, it helps keep me balanced. And then I also try to sleep and and
And you
watch
and
Star Trek.
you bad about what, 3-0?
Yeah.
Did I
Exactly.
do that right?
No,
Yeah.
not even
No,
Nope.
close.
no.
Okay.
300.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
it's
300.
Yeah.
it's
Look,
Okay.
the concept was sound. Yeah.
Yeah.
you always with when it comes to batting averages, it's always you always do it with
Yeah, I
three
got
numbers
it's the
and
percentage.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's just stupid.
But
Okay.
never talk about the dot in front of it, and it's always like
Yeah.
172, 264. It's
Right.
always
Yeah.
write it like
Really,
that.
really,
If you can,
really weak correlations. Okay, that's fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Weak correlations.
Sorry.
Hey, I'll tell you, Jason, I'll tell you.
Really trying here.
Yeah, yeah. He sent me some pictures recently
Mhm.
of him at a couple college football games. He
Oh,
sent
this
them
is a
to,
real
Nice.
outlier.
Nice.
yeah,
This is
it was
sent them
as
to the
part of
group
like
back home.
a group thing, and he
Yeah.
Yeah.
sent it to our little friend group,
And
and
I'm just like, where am I? What's happening?
all of us were like something is going wrong. We're in a
I think
bizarro world where
Brad's
he's
exact words on the text were, I don't know what's happening anymore. I
yeah.
can't take anymore in 2025.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what's going on. This is just not right.
Because
I don't understand. I can't take any
Uh,
more. This is just
but seriously, Jason, thank you so much for coming on because this
yeah, no
is like
problem.
this is so far beyond the typical wheelhouse for Dice and Mind,
Sure.
right? Like, we're talking about games and
Yeah.
lit and stuff like that, but this is an important and valuable reminder that
Yeah.
games and play and just health and healing, it looks
Yeah.
different depending on where you go.
Right.
And the fact that you bring in some psychological science to talk
Mhm.
about this, all of this stuff, it's very, very cool. It's really unique and
Yeah.
interesting.
and the
Yeah.
fact that you brought improv in was
Yeah.
just such a pleasant and cool surprise.
Yeah.
And it is
Thank you.
so, I mean, people don't realize, I mean, people do realize,
Yeah.
I should say, that improv and gaming uh are,
Right.
you know, very, very, very
Yeah.
they're very close relatives and people, um there's I think like you said, there's you can find healing in that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And I've never played D&D, but I want to try it out, and I see all the improv that goes on in it. It just looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's we haven't played anything. And no, that's not true. We played one session recently, and that's like the first time in like a year and a half where,
Okay.
yeah, but it can be wonderfully cathartic,
Yeah.
but it can also just be pure play,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't,
Or it can be both.
or it can be both. Yeah, you're right. And it
Mhm.
can be improvisational. It doesn't have to be. It kind of always is for the players, for the GM
Mhm.
who's running it. It may or may not be.
Yeah.
But you know what? Not unlike therapy, right?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it's I think if anything, I think what you're sharing with us this evening is that there are all kinds of opportunities for
Mhm.
unexpected places to be therapeutic places.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then before we wrap up, I just
Yeah.
wanted to invite you both to Movie House Sports Psychology. I've been meaning to reach out to authors.
We would love it.
Ah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it can be both of you at the same time, or if we can't work that out individually, or both, if that would work. But yeah,
Absolutely.
it'd be fun. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'd
Well,
love
thank
to.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for everything, Jason.
Okay. Thank you.
Like we said, it was not a discussion about sports. It definitely someone who is sci-fi kin. I loved how we got into um improv. We weren't expecting that.
Yes. Which is ironic, kind of fitting for a discussion on improv.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about improv and just, with us with obviously the DNA of this this show of being about gaming and improv and gaming, their
Hmm.
DNA is
Right.
similar as well.
Right.
I just think um it was just so neat that he introduced it and we were able to have a discussion about it. So thank you, Jason, for joining us.
Yeah,
We really appreciate it. It was great to have you.
it was.
Great talk and discussion. Um, now that we are, as you said at the beginning,
In
in
our
our
jammies
jammies,
and
pumpkin
zipping.
spice.
Yeah. For the
Actually,
record, I do you have one?
no,
Oh, okay.
I have a Mountain Dew Kickstart Black Cherry. So
Oh my God,
chemically
that
disgusting, but yes,
that's why you were yelling, I'm fine" when I logged in. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it
Okay.
has I I guess it doesn't really have much of anything in it other than
Just sugar and remorse.
carbonated water, fructose corn syrup. Um, I don't know why. I just like the cherry flavor.
Uh-huh.
That's why I got it.
Yeah, that's the high
And you
caffeine,
can't, and
high sugar.
I
Oh my
can't
God.
find for those of folks that are from this area, they'll understand. I couldn't find Jolly Good cherry soda, and
Funny.
I wanted like a black
Funny.
cherry soda, and
Yeah, you
that's
wanted the
what,
cheap stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
wanted that flavor, and this
Fair
is the
enough.
closest thing I can get to it. Oh,
Wow.
it has electrolytes.
Well, that makes it healthy.
Yeah,
So speaking of healthy,
yeah.
we
So
should,
as we
yeah.
move over to Loon Cafe, part two of what we
Part
talked
two of
about
our
last
update
time.
on the Pioneer Kickstarter.
Yes.
Because
So
you and I are both overly eager, overly attentive backers.
yes. I
And
mean,
so it
you
is,
are even more overly
I know
you're
this is so
overly
bad.
attentive.
I'm like checking just because they are just blasting through their stretch goals. And so
Yeah.
I checked as we were recording. And so this is this is coming out obviously sorry, we were recording this obviously a number of days in advance. And as of right now, they are over 90,000 US dollars.
Boy, they went
90,
up. They went up
yep,
in literally like the 30 minutes since we checked before we
that's
started
right.
recording.
So we're on our way to L2, baby. Yeah, as you can tell, everybody, Brad and I are rather keen, to be part of this, but more importantly, to play it. I just keep thinking about how my pre-adolescent self would be geeking out so hard right now. Like, and don't get me wrong, as an adult, middle-aged adult, I am so interested to play this game.
Mhm.
But this would have resonated with me at literally every step of my development. Like, this is the game that like feels like it was designed and written.
Would have been the book that you would have learned to read with?
That's a fair question.
I'm
Yeah,
not joking.
that's a
I'm
that's a that's a fair question.
there's humor in it, but I'm half
What's
thinking
what
that there's truth
what's
there.
what's in situ resource utilization?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there would be worse.
There's humor there, but I think there's some truth with it too. I think you probably could have learned to read with that type of material. So, um, you know, I am, I just think to myself, wouldn't it be fascinating to run a Pioneer to Traveler 2300 to
Oh,
Traveler second edition
talk about the
Mongoose?
long game.
That is a I don't I think that would be an epic
Oh, well,
EPIC
no, no, epic,
epic
epic.
EPOCH.
Nicely done, sir.
So an
Nicely done,
epic
sir.
epic. So
It's yeah.
I think that would we'd probably have to one quit the podcast. Um, we'd have to
Pretty much
dedicate
quit everything.
inordinate amounts of time.
Yeah.
It probably your
Yeah.
wife would probably
His
probably require a
yeah.
restraining order against me from
Yeah.
in
Which,
communicating with
let's
you.
face it, is surprisingly overdue.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's be honest. That would probably be the
That's the
straw that broke
last
the
straw.
camel's
That
back.
that it really
You
would be.
know,
Yeah. Um,
So,
but so yeah, we're obviously geeking out. But it's ironic though because we're talking about like a multi-epochal game, and I'm still waiting for you to say, "Yep, you've got the time now. Let's do session 2 of STA."
oh, we can at any point.
Oh, well, then we should schedule that because I
Yeah.
mean that would be the longest we've been into a game in years.
Yeah,
2 sessions.
we can based off of when we're recording that.
Oh yeah,
Now
okay.
that you're back from your
Little weekend
travels,
away. Yeah, yeah.
um, we can do that. The only thing well, we'll talk offline,
We'll
but
talk about yeah,
I'm pretty well. I
yeah.
just
Because you
have
and I
little
both
things here
have
and there.
right. Same here. You and I both have very open calendars at the moment,
Hmm.
so that's a good idea. Okay,
Yeah,
we will talk about that on air, off air, and then we'll have to provide everybody, all of you guys listening out there, with an update because the first session was really fun.
it was.
Now Pioneer, uh, the prints apparently won't ship until August of 26. But we are
Which makes
hopeful.
that makes
Yeah, it
sense.
makes a lot of sense. But we are hopeful that there will be PDFs much earlier. Maybe there won't be. But at that point, whenever that would come out, I think we would probably, certainly we will be talking about this game as RPG is lit, which we have to kind of get back to because there's a lot of reading to be done.
Your uneducated conjecture, but if they operate as Mongoose traditionally does,
Right. There are really,
the
yeah.
PDF will be out before
Yeah.
the print version
Right.
is.
They're very good to their customers, to their followers. They're a highly ethical company. I mean, you guys have heard us talk with their CEO twice
Hmm.
already. Um, so whenever that
Matthew
comes out,
Sprang, yeah, yeah,
yeah, I
Matthew,
think so.
and we already are the not to give anything away, but we should be hearing from him again,
Yeah, hopefully soon. Yeah, and
hopefully soon.
hopefully getting no promises, everybody, but we're trying very hard to get someone from Pioneer.
Yes,
Now that the Kickstarter is live, we're trying really hard to uh get someone on to talk about the game. I just have to, before we wrap up, I have to just make this observation. So Brad is eating what I have to assume is Twizzler licorice that he's separated into the strands.
pull and peel.
Pull and peel, which is
This
delicious.
is this is the I could tell
But
as we've been
your
when
blood
we
sugar's
started
low. Hmm.
recording that my I'm starting to get the little shakes a little bit.
But on
So,
my end, like Brad's peeling, like some of the pieces are going in straight, but then the other one, it'll be like 6 or 7 of these short strands, and it looks like day old gach.
oh,
Right.
wow.
Exactly.
Yeah, and no, I keep licorice around because it's not so sweet that I will like if I eat chocolate or
Right.
something like that, I will like I keep
And it
um
pairs well with the super
oh
caffeinated
yeah,
extra cherry
but
dew.
I keep a chocolate bar
Yeah, nice,
in my
smart.
desk in
Hmm.
case I feel like really,
Yep.
really like in trouble. I the funny thing is I'm not diabetic. I just will on occasion have like an issue if I haven't like eaten on a certain schedule.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
or if my body is off
Well,
schedule.
you
But
haven't been high calorie in a long time.
no.
So like you don't
But
have nearly as much feeling.
licorice doesn't
Gives a
have like a
boost.
super sweet
Yeah.
flavor. And the pull and
Yeah.
peel allows me um to eat in a smaller portion
Right.
at a certain rate.
Well, I mean,
So
gach is best served in small bites,
yes.
apparently. So,
Is it?
all right.
Does it? Is that what they
No,
say?
it's not. That's not what they
But
say. No, not at all.
it is best served fresh. That's what
It
they
is
say.
best served live.
Live. That's what it is. But
Yes.
that's fresh, right?
Yeah, they would be fresh. Yes. We
Yes.
would hope so. I've never
Yes.
had gach, and I'm actually okay with that.
I'm curious what that would taste like.
Gach.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
now
curious what gak would taste like.
that we've
I'm wondering if
degenerated.
it tastes like
Yeah.
chicken.
Yeah. Thank you for
I've heard that everything kind of tastes like
everything.
chicken.
Has like, thank you for listening to the final and sad episode of Dice and Mind. Uh, so we'll see what happens. Um, yeah. So you know the deal, everybody. Be well, stay well. We'll see you in a couple weeks.